And back home, the sugar conference that was hosted at Masinde Muliro University in Kakamega last week came up with several resolutions, among them involving farmers in decision-making, regional zoning of cane millers, auditing debts owed to farmers, among others. Most farmers are happy with these resolutions except one on zoning, which they say will limit and confine them to certain companies unfairly. Alan Ochanda has more.
Cane farming was once a profitable venture here in Western Kenya before things went south more than a decade ago. There have been several efforts to ensure the sector is resuscitated. Among them, the Sugar Conference held here in Kakamega 1.5 weeks ago. The Sugar Conference brought together farmers, stakeholders and political leaders, where several resolutions were arrived at. They included involving farmers in key decisions and policies, restoring farmers' outgrower companies, auditing of debts owed to farmers, zoning of cane in clustered regions, instituting strict guidelines on harvesting and transportation of cane, adopting robust cane development methods, integrating ICT across the value chain, and introduction and operationalization of the sugar development levy. Abraham Lisanza, Joyce Odari, and Martin Lukunza have been cane farmers for more than a decade. The Sugar Conference, they say, was to be the game changer and are optimistic it will turn around their fortunes.
3 months.
They are in agreement with the resolutions, but have reservations with the proposal on zoning of cane millers and farmers.
As a grandmother of cane and everything, mkulima mkonge wa miwa, mambo ya zoning nimekataa. Sijui hata wale walienda kusema hiyo maneno Kakamega walitoa wapi hao wakulima. Walichukua wakulima Bonoko, pengine wakanunuliwa ndio wakaenda kusema hiyo maneno. Lakini mimi kama mama yule amelima miwa tangu 1976-75 hapo. Nimekataa.
Zoning kwa mkulima, hiyo ni ugonjwa mbaya sana. Na ni kitu hatari sana kwa mkulima. Ni sawa na kuwa na mtoto mmoja kwa nyumba. Na umpe yeye masharti yeye peke yake, hao wengine wanyime. Naweza rudi nyuma kidogo. Hapo nyuma tulikuwa huku na factory moja. Miwa ilibaki karudi kawa kuni.
Zoning is the practice of demarcating boundaries for cane millers within specific catchment areas where factory A cannot harvest cane from factory B's zone. Proponents argue it sanitizes the industry and curbs cane poaching, whereas those against it say it is limiting farmers unfairly.
Zones need to be respected. You can negotiate between factories, but at least have some boundaries. It does not mean that yes, you are like in prison if you are a farmer in this zone, and if there is really need for you to get your cane to another factory, for whichever reason, that should also be possible, but after going through some process, rather than just people waking up, you find out you have taken your cane to wherever.
As farmers will say no to zoning, as farmers will say no to clustering us, because we are in a free market. In fact, one time, West Kenya took Butali to court on account of zoning. Do you know? None other than the current Chief Justice ruled, I think she was on a court of appeal then, that this is a free market, is nothing like zoning. So I want to refer anybody who thinks they can zone us to Justice Come's ruling.
Research in pursuit of early maturing cane variety was also agreed on as a resolution. Current varieties mature at between 18 to 24 months, which is being termed as no longer profitable. Cane is planted by laying cane cuttings in the soils and heaping soils on them. And farmers say the proposal for better varieties should also have cane seeds.
We have not yet reached a level where you can get cane that is maturing at less than 12 months. 12 months is also possible in some parts of the world. So that is going on. In fact, even if the company restarts, most of the cane that was there when it was stopping in the nuclear estate was actually early maturing.
Our people are fighting for I don't know. because sugar is the easiest area for somebody to manage. They can go back to Bukas, like here, Bukatet, the company that started our Mumias Sugar Company. Or they can go and borrow management from Seychelles. And there are people who will come and manage for them. And it will take off. Where we have extension agriculture officers checking on this issue of sugar cane, checking on the soil and so on, and then making sure that, because like Mumias, we have trucks and trucks of land.
When the Kenya Sugar Board was done away with, and instead the Sugar Directorate formed and placed under the Agricultural Food Authority, AFA, according to players in the sector, it compounded their tribulations. The board had mechanisms in place like the Sugar Development Levy, which will cater for activities like crop development, assisting outgrower organizations, sugar research, factories rehabilitation, and repair of sugar roads. This is now a thing of the past. The poor performance of state-owned millers has been blamed on the mushrooming of cane millers.
The government mills' failure is now being attributed to the success of private mills. That I don't buy. Because you cannot benchmark yourself against the worst. You benchmark against the best. Private mills are doing well. They pay farmers on time. They pay well. Of course, we may have problems perhaps with the money they pay farmers, but they pay on time. They do crop development because they have no fund. They are utilizing their own resources. Now, the government, in its wisdom, and other people think that they are the cause of the problem. No, I beg to disagree.
We come together and form one sugar belt company. We call this sugar belt area. One company. It owns Nzoia, it owns Mumias, it owns the South Africa, the South Nyanza Sugar Company, Sony. It owns all these companies, only one company. And then we ask for the expertise or the experts from Mauritius or from the former Bukatet to see the supervision and to put mechanism in place of implementation. And with the support of government and county governments, one huge company. I'm telling you, even those companies like Kanani in Sudan and other companies that are producing sugar will not be able to match us.
This was the first time in many years that stakeholders gathered to brainstorm on how to revive the sugar subsector. And after coming up with promising resolutions, farmers are now eagerly waiting for the time when they start reaping the fruits of the conference. Alan Ochanda, KTN News.
Right, and that report from the